So, hope you're all well. This tutorial is on the new Spectral Resonator from Ableton 11. It's fantastic. You can do loads within it. Essentially what I was doing there, just in case you didn't pick it up, I was literally using this microphone, going into a spectral resonator, and then the sound that you were hearing was the affected sound. That's with just taking a live input from Ableton. So I'll go through how that works and how you can also use Midi to control the spectral resonator. And yeah, just what it can be used for. It can literally be used for anything. You can use it along with audio. You can use it along with MIDI instruments, external instruments, and so on and so forth. And essentially, if you haven't looked at, I'll just pop it on screen here. If you haven't looked at a spectral resonator before, there's loads of things that you can do with these, and it really depends on what you normally do. But essentially, what it is based on is spectral processing. So it uses spectral resonance and pitched overtones to add tonal characteristics to any audio source. So essentially what's going on here is it's analyzing your audio, and then it's allowing you to manipulate the particular elements within the spectral analysis of the audio. So if you're not sure about what that is or what that means, don't worry, you hopefully will do at the very end. Thankfully, Ableton has built in a spectral analysis window, so you can actually see what happens. So you can't hear it because I have it turned off, but if I turn this on, you can hear what's going on as well. So this is a spectral analyzer, and the section that we're looking at here is my voice going through that, and it's showing you at the bottom the low frequencies, in the middle the medium, the mid frequencies, and at the top the high frequencies. So you can even know by looking at that my voice is quite deep because there's more low frequencies than there is mids and high frequencies, for example. So automatically you're kind of seeing what's going on as well as hearing what's going on. So if I was to pitch my voice up, there would be less low frequencies and more high, and so on and so forth. So that's really good. That's really helpful to kind of see what you're doing. So what sounds can you get out of this, and why might you want to use it? Well, essentially you can create reverb with this, delays, metallic type sounds, vocoder sounds, percussive sounds, like a string synth type of sound, texture sounds. Like this type of effect has been around for quite a while. If anyone's into Eurorack or modular stuff, you've got clouds. Clouds sound similar to some of the effects that you can get from this. So yeah, there's loads of other things too. It's just, it sounds really well. I'm obsessed with vocoders. I'm obsessed with resonators, string synths, and this just kind of covers a bit of everything. It's really, really nice. So I'm delighted that they brought something like this in to the mix. And yeah, so we'll go through some of the settings and how you can use them within your actual track, and just to get you comfortable with exactly what's going on here as well. So you can apply this to anything, as I mentioned before, whether it's a sample, a live audio, or MIDI input. Anything like that at all can work. Okay, so how do we control the spectral resonator? There's a couple of ways that you can do this. So for example, if I turn on the resonator again so we can hear what's going on, you'll hear my voice as well as the affected voice, even though I have the dry and wet turned up full. It's just the way I'm recording this, but I'll probably turn that off and on as well so you can hear it, and I'll let you know when I'm doing that. So if we turn this back on again, we don't hear anything at the minute, and that's because I'm in MIDI mode, but we're going to leave MIDI mode for a wee second, and we're going to jump straight to internal mode. So if I go to internal mode, and maybe just take this down a bit. So if I go to internal mode, what this allows you to do now is to essentially change the pitch. So if I can lower this down, and then if I lower this, if I increase the dry and wet, you're hearing more of the wet sound than you are the dry sound. If I keep going, that'll get lower and lower. And if I just keep taking this up, you can hear what's going on there. So that's really, really high now. Okay, let's start taking it down, down, one, one, one. Just take all this off as well. I'll explain this later. So you're starting to get the idea here now, right? This is a very kind of metallic-y, electrified sound. And if you've ever heard any old kind of electro, like Africa Bambaataa, you know, things like that, it just sounds like that. That's the type of sound that I relate to when I hear this song. Let's get electrified. You know, let's get that exact same tone and texture. It's fantastic. So you can get these types of sounds with very, very short delays and reverb. So I've got a wee bit of reverb on that too, so I'm going to take it off. So again, we can change the frequency. So I'm just going to have a wee mess around here and see what we can do. And what I might do is I might actually grab a sample and bring it in as well and just have a wee mess around with it. So I've got, well, you know what we'll do? We'll actually make some weird bass sounds. So if I turn this on, and I'm going to turn off my other microphone so we can just hear this. So now we're just hearing the affected sound. Okay, so I'm going to start taking down the pitch a little, and I'm going to get bassy, and I'm going to bring in a breakbeat. Whoa, 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 that's just my voice. That was just my voice. So you can get loads of really interesting things out of that. So I'm just going to take the dry and wet down again. And yeah, there's loads you can do. So essentially what you can do, as long as you're in internal mode, you can change the pitch here, and that will affect the pitch of the affected sound. And then you can go either in pitched increments or in semitones, or else you can just drop down to hertz and you can pick out a particular frequency band if you want to do that. So if I start bringing that up again, and you can see here in the spectral analyzer the color changing, and that's to tell you that the yellow sound is the original sound, and then the kind of blue sound is the affected sound. So you can see when they start mixing together, as well as hearing that they're mixing together. Okay, so hopefully you're still able to hear me when the vocoder is on. I think you should be able to hear me okay. So the frequency range, you can go in hertz or basically tuned increments and semitones. So you've got that. And then there's a few other things that you can actually do here as well. So if I want to control it that way, I can, but maybe I don't. Maybe I want to control it in a slightly different way. And even before I do that, I want to just let you hear what the decay does. This is the decay time of the actual affected sound. So if I start bringing this up, I'm just going to count to 5 and then back again, and I'm going to start bringing the decay up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you get the idea there, right? So that's just the decay time of the affected sound. So then we'll look at some of the stretching options in a second. But what I want to do now is I want to change the mode from internal to MIDI. So what this allows me to do now is this allows me to either control the pitch of the spectrum or spectral analyzer via playing in live, okay, like I just did at the start there. So what I've done is I've set up a separate channel, and in that channel I have my keyboard set up here, so MIDI from complete control, and I have the track armed. Very important, okay? So if I have that armed and I now go to MIDI and then I say MIDI from, and I select that channel here. So MIDI from live input. Now, if I start bringing this up, we shouldn't hear anything. You'll hear my voice starting to die off, okay? And that's because we're not playing any notes. But when I start playing a note on the keyboard, we should start hearing things. So let's try and do that now. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hello, hello. La, la, la. Excellent. Okay, so you're starting to hear what's going on there, right? And that's because I'm playing notes on the keyboard. So I can do it that way, and I can play mono or polyphonically. Now, if I set it to mono, you can play up to 16 voices at once. Let me just pop over to show you that. So here you've got mono and poly mode, and you can go, if you're in poly mode, you can go up to 16 voices. I'm just going to double click it to take it back to the standard 8. And if I go to mono mode, and then you have Midi Gate. So Midi Gate's an interesting one. So basically the gate only opens when you press a note. So you don't get any sound at all until you press a note. So if I take this right up and keep talking, right? So I just let my voice because essentially we're not pressing a key on the keyboard. So this gate, once that's on, it basically only plays the sound when you trigger a note, and that opens the gate. So when you press a key, it opens the gate, and when you let go, it closes the gate, but it depends on this decay time here as well. So it'll take 3.14 seconds for the sound to disappear. So if I knock this off, you hear it on continually. So even if I bring this up, you can still hear everything, okay? So you can knock the gate off and on. It really depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to go back to polyphonic mode, all right? And the basically, if you're in polyphonic mode, the gate is instantly activated. So, or the gate is turned off. So you need to press a key to be able to hear the affected sound. Okay, right? So hopefully that's starting to make a wee bit more sense now. You've glide and pitch bend options down here as well if you want to use those for your MIDI keyboard. And yeah, you can just set, what you want there for the values to be for your pitch bend. So if I hold down C and pitch up, we get that there. Okay, so you can change that there. Okay, so we're starting to get through things right and quickly. And what I want to do is basically show you how to activate MIDI chords. So I just have some basic MIDI chords here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the spectral analyzer now and select those notes, right? So I'm not going to be using the MIDI keyboard as a live pitch changer. If you want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these chords that I put in earlier on. So if I press play, oh, yeah, we can have that on too. I'm going to take off the dry wet. That is a lot of fun. It really is so much fun. Yeah, so let's do more of it shortly. I'll try and contain myself. So essentially, yeah, hopefully you can kind of work out what's going on there now, and it's not too too sporadic. But yeah, so hopefully you're starting to see what you can do with this. I'm just going to take unison down there. I just wanted to get a nice big thick sound to come through. And yeah, let's go through some of the other settings while I sip on my tea. So bear with me a wee second. I am going to go through some of the other settings here with you now. So hopefully you kind of know the different ways to control the resonator now with the pitch options. And essentially, it's a really good way. It's a really good way to work it. So if we kind of move on now to the spectrogram. So the spectrogram is this part here. Okay. So the spectrogram is used to display the frequencies that are coming in. So at the minute you're seeing my voice. You're seeing a spectral analysis of my voice. And if I was to change my voice, if I was to try to get a little brighter, you would see more high frequencies and less low frequencies. But if I go right down, you'll see more low frequencies. Okay. And again, the yellow represents the non-affected sound, like so. And then the more you go up, the blue will represent the affected sound. But again, I need to press a key to get that to work. So if I hold down a note and I start bringing that up, hopefully actually I need to change from MIDI chords back to my MIDI keyboard. Hello. And there we go. So we're getting a mixture again now. So this spectral resonator uses a really interesting setup, and it's just fantastic that you can see what you're doing. So there's a thing here that you need to be aware of, and it's named harmonics. This represents the amount of harmonics or partials that exist and make up the sound that you're actually hearing. So the more harmonics that you have within your sound, the more intricate that it is and the more detailed that it is. So usually more harmonics represent a brighter sound, but it's more CPU intensive. So right up here at the maximum 256 harmonics, the computer's working much harder than it would be at a less rate, or a lower rate or a lower level. So essentially the least amount of harmonics that you have in here will give you a darker sound, and it's not as intense on your CPU. So you can try it out and see. Like I've got it up at 256 at the minute, and my CPU is okay. But I guess it depends on your computer as well. So if I start bringing this up, and I'm going to turn off the mic so you just hear the affected sound again, or I'll just put it up 100% dry so you just hear the affected sound. And I'm going to start messing around with the harmonics so you can hear. So again, the higher the number, the brighter, the lower, the duller. Let's try it out. That's all I was doing that whole time, so you can hear the difference. So it's like spectral filtering in a way, I guess. It kind of sounds like, slightly unusual filtering. But that's basically what's happening. So the harmonics will give you a duller sound if you go lower, a brighter sound if you go higher. So you can have a mess around with that and see. You can actually hide this window if you don't want to see it as well by clicking this button here. Okay, so that's the harmonic window out of the way. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense. So next up, what I want to do is I want to kind of look at the, the other building blocks of what you really need to know to get this thing working the way you want to get it working. The main thing is that you spend time on it, to be totally honest. The more time you spend on this, and the more you kind of mess around with the functions, the more it'll start making sense. So let's look at the stretch function next. So stretch is here, and essentially what this allows you to do, it allows you to increase or decrease the spacing between the harmonics. So again, we have 256 harmonics here at the minute, and we can basically decrease the spacing or increase the spacing between the harmonics. So values below 0 will compress the distance, while values above 0 will stretch it. Okay, so at the minute we're set to 0, so there's nothing happening. So if we increase, so let's go. If we compress the distance, okay, so let's have a listen to this and see what happens. So I'm going to take up the dry and wet, and I'm just going to do the same sound again. I'm just going to go la 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 la. So you know what I'm putting into this, so you'll hear what's coming out. So it gets slightly inharmonic when you kind of, if you know, between say 0 and plus 100 or minus 100, if you go to one extreme or the other, it's it's kind of back in tune, it's back in sync, only maybe an octave higher or lower. That's what it sounds like to me, at least anyway. But if you're in between that, it sounds inharmonic. It just sounds slightly or quite a lot out of tune. So let's try that again. La la. So I played a chord in that time, and yeah, you're getting a nice bit of movement within your sound as well. So what you could potentially do there is add an LFO and just have this slightly moving, and it'll give you a nice kind of wide type of sound, you know. So you can mess around with that and see how you get on. But that's essentially what's going on. Below that, then we have shift, and shift transposes the input signal spectrum up or down within a range of 4 octaves. So essentially, this is changing the input signal. So if I start messing around with that, and if I start bringing the dry and wet up, and let's play a chord. We'll just go C major triad. Hello, so you can hear what's going on there as well. So you can shift stuff up and down essentially with that. So that's quite good. Okay, so we kind of have a good idea of what everything does now on this side, other than the HF damp and LF damp. So the best way to do this, these are dampeners. Think of how a piano works, and when you play a note, and if you let go of that note, a dampener comes down, hits a string, and mutes it. Well, essentially the same thing is going to happen here, only digitally in a way, or it gives the same type of feel. So if you look at the spectrogram here, you can see my voice, right? And again, most of my voice is low harmonics. So let's go for low frequency, right? Low frequency dampener. So if I start bringing this up, you'll see now that it takes less time for the low frequencies to decay. So the low frequencies decay much quicker. The low frequencies decay much slower. The low frequencies decay much quicker. So that's essentially what's happening. Let's have a listen to it. La 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 la. So you can actually see and hear the difference there, and the high frequencies work the exact same way with the high frequencies. So let's try that out. La 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 la. Now, of course, this is all tied into the decay time as well. All right, so but that's just kind of to give you an idea, and you'll fine tune this to your own, your own kind of sound as you go along. But just keep in mind that the decay works alongside those as well. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other settings then. So let's maybe look at some of the modulation options. I kind of touched on them earlier. Well, it's a slightly different type of modulation. There's 2 modulation elements here, I guess. So if we look here on the left-hand side, first of all, so there, within this section, there's 4 modulation types to choose from. The first one is no modulation whatsoever. The second one is chorus. So essentially what chorus does, it actually adds a triangle wave to every single partial for you to create movement with it. And the movement is based on this rate here. Okay, so for example, if I start bringing this up, and we'll have a listen to the chorus, then we'll move on to the others. So let's have a listen to the chorus first of all. So I'm going to hold down some notes, and I'm going to just start talking in here so we can hear what's going on. So we're getting a kind of unison effect there, and essentially what's happening is we set the chorus, so there's a triangle wave added to every single harmonic, so there's 256 triangles there, and you're moving the rate of those triangles, at this rate here, so at 10%. It's a nice sound. It's a nice way to thicken and add a chorusing to your sound. So that's chorus. That's kind of how choruses work. So if we look at then, the next one is wander. And basically it's a similar process, but instead of triangle waves, it adds random sawtooths to each partial. And it sounds a little bit like this. So yeah, it's a different sound. It's a slightly harsher sound, I guess. The chorus is more dreamy and I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's definitely a difference in those sounds. So if we move on then to the last one, that's granular. So this randomly moves the amplitude or level of the actual signal of each partial. So let's have a listen to that. Let's try it again. Very interesting. Oh, let's turn off the reverb. I'm stuck in a dark cave. Hello? Okay, so you get the idea, right? So let's move on. So we're almost there. So if you've made it this far, well done. The two other things that I want to go through here is essentially the input send, which is this function here. And I actually have that increased quite a bit. And essentially what this is allowing you to do, well, first of all, this is a built-in limiter. So no sounds get carried away and max out your output. It happens quite a lot with spectral analyzers, especially with long decays. So this is a safety mechanism that's built into the resonator, and I think it's really good. I use analog EQs and resonators, and they can really, really hurt your hearing if you kind of crank them too much. And like a lot of the stuff that I do, it's right on the verge of kind of eating itself. And for me, that's where the magic is. But it's a dangerous place to be in the sense that it can, it can get out of hand very quickly and easily. So having a limiter or something like that at the end of your chain is always a good idea. So they've built one into this, which is fantastic. There's an LED here, and that informs you when limiting is taking place. So if that isn't on, you're not limiting and you're not trying hard enough. I'm only joking. No, seriously, it's definitely a great thing to have. So that's essentially what that is. So I use it just to kind of increase the output signal if I think that it's just not at the level that I want it to be at. So let's try that. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, So there you go. Now, last but not least, we have Unison. Unison, if you don't know what it is, it's a fantastic way to duplicate the amount of voices that you have that's creating the sound, and then you slightly detune each one of those, and you get this really nice, thick type of sound. And I tried it there earlier on, and it just sounds absolutely fantastic. So let's give that a go. Very, very nice. Oh, I'm in the cave again. Let's go. Right, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense and it's helpful. That's pretty much everything you need to know to get you up and running with the Spectral Resonator. And yeah, experiment and explore. There's so many other things that you can do. You can't just stick in a sample there and, we'll maybe finish off with that. What I'll do is I'm going to just drag in the breakbeat there, the Amen break that I was playing earlier on, and see what it sounds like, and we'll finish off there. Okay, so until the next time, folks, thank you very much, and I'll see you all soon. So much fun. That's all been generated from a breakbeat. All of those sounds you heard there, it's all from a breakbeat. So just, I'm going to go and play with this for another hour. Okay, folks, see you all soon.